What just happened? Angel Reese, one of the most dominant forces in Unrivaled, just got ejected in the middle of a monster game. 15 rebounds in one half, locking down on defense, dominating the glass, doing what she does best. But just like that, she was tossed. Why? Was it fair, or did the refs overstep? Drives to the basket. And Angel Reese, in fairness, fouled her hard. She fouled, not fouled her hard, sorry. Obvious foul. How I felt the thing where it was like she went to steal the ball, realized she was a little bit off, and then just swiped hard so that if you miss the ball, it's a foul. Look, this ejection has everyone talking, and it's already shaping up to be one of the biggest controversies in Unrivaled history. Did Reese cross the line, or did the refs make it about themselves? Stay tuned, because we're breaking it all down, what happened, what it means, and why this changes everything. Now let's get into it. Angel Reese was having one of those games, you know the kind. The ones that remind everyone why she's such a dominant force on the court. She was snatching rebounds left and right, locking down on defense, setting the tone physically, and making sure everyone knew she was there. 15 rebounds in one half? That's not just elite, it's unheard of. Instead of the conversation being about how incredible her performance was, it all shifted in an instant. One clap, one reaction, one ref's decision, and suddenly, Reese wasn't dominating anymore. She was ejected. Let's break down exactly what happened, because this wasn't just any ordinary ejection. It felt forced, unnecessary, and completely out of place for a league that prides itself on intensity and competitive fire. Tiffany Hayes had the ball, making a strong drive to the basket, and Reese, being the defensive powerhouse that she is, stepped in. She went for the ball, but missed slightly, swiping at Hayes instead. It wasn't some out-of-control, dangerous foul. It was just a hard, physical basketball play. A foul, sure, but nothing out of the ordinary. Then, as Tiffany Hayes recovered, Reese clapped in her direction. Now, was she taunting? Was she just hyping herself up? Was it misinterpreted? That's the question. Because in that moment, the ref wasted no time handing her a technical foul. And that's where it all began. You could see the frustration on Reese's face immediately. It wasn't just about the tech, it was how quickly it was given. There wasn't even a discussion, no warning, just a straight-up technical. That kind of instant whistle doesn't happen often, and in a league like Unrivaled, where players are supposed to be given more freedom to express themselves, it felt completely unnecessary. But Reese didn't back down. She tried to talk to the refs, probably explaining that she wasn't disrespecting anyone, that she was just in the moment, that this is basketball. But once you're on the refs' radar, sometimes it's like they're just waiting for an excuse. And that excuse came quicker than anyone expected. Game resumed, and Reese was still playing hard, still fighting for every board, still competing, but the tension didn't go away. You could tell she was still frustrated, still trying to shake off that first technical. And then it happened. Another moment, another decision, another whistle, a second technical foul. And just like that, Angel Reese was ejected. The crowd, stunned, her teammates furious, the commentators completely caught off guard. No one saw it coming. Because here's the thing. This wasn't some situation where Reese was out of control, screaming at the refs or starting a fight. This wasn't some over-the-top wild outburst that demanded an ejection. It was a competitive moment between two great players. She wasn't throwing punches, she wasn't crossing the line, she was just doing what she does, playing with emotion, playing with fire, playing with passion. And somehow that was enough to get tossed. And let's not forget, this is Unrivaled. This isn't the WNBA, where officials tend to have a tighter whistle on technicals and emotional reactions. Unrivaled was built to be different. It's supposed to allow more personality, more competitive fire, more energy. The very foundation of the league was about creating a space where players could be themselves without worrying about soft officiating taking over the game. Yet, here we are, talking about Angel Reese getting ejected for showing emotion in a league that's supposed to encourage emotion. The reaction online was immediate. Fans were confused, angry, and demanding answers. Social media exploded with clips of the ejection, and the general consensus was the refs made it about themselves. This was the first ejection in Unrivaled history, and it happened in a moment that didn't feel like it deserved one. It felt manufactured, avoidable, and completely unnecessary. Even the players on the court seemed shocked. Reese's teammates immediately rushed to the refs, trying to understand what just happened. The opposing team, even though they benefited from the ejection, didn't seem overly aggressive about calling for it. And then there was Reese herself. You could see it on her face. The frustration, the disbelief. She knew she had just been robbed of the chance to finish a dominant performance. You don't put up 15 rebounds in one half and then get tossed over some trash talk and clapping, and that's what made it even worse. The ejection didn't just end her night, it completely shifted the energy of the game. But here's where it gets really interesting. Even without Angel Reese, the Rose still managed to pull off the win. That's right, the team kept their composure, adjusted their strategy, and closed out the game strong. And that, in a weird way, almost made the ejection look even worse. Because if the goal of the refs was to take control, to make a statement, to clean up the game, they actually made the whole thing messier. The story was no longer about the game itself. It was about the controversy, the ejection, the bad officiating. And that's a bad look for Unrivaled, because now everyone's asking, is Unrivaled really letting players be themselves? Are refs going to start calling games like this every night? What does this mean for the future of the league? And the biggest question of all, did Angel Reese deserve to be ejected? Because, let's be real, if this is how Unrivaled is going to handle competitive fire, they're going to have a serious problem on their hands. If players start getting tossed for showing passion, for trash talking, for playing with intensity, then what separates Unrivaled from every other league? Reese's ejection wasn't just about one moment, it wasn't just about one ref's decision, it was about the bigger picture. This was supposed to be a league for the players, where they could be themselves, play their game, and bring the energy fans love to see. But what happens when one of the biggest stars gets ejected for doing exactly that? That's why this moment matters. That's why people are still talking about it. That's why this isn't just about one game, it's about what Unrivaled does next. Because Angel Reese might be the first big star to get ejected in Unrivaled, but if the league isn't careful, she won't be the last. And if that's the case, then Unrivaled has a bigger problem than just one bad call. The moment Angel Reese was ejected, the entire game shifted. Not just on the scoreboard, but in the energy of the arena, the reaction of the fans, and the way people started talking about Unrivaled as a league. Up until that point, the story of the night was simple. Reese was dominating. She was on pace to have one of the most dominant rebounding performances Unrivaled had ever seen. The way she was controlling the glass, shutting down opponents on defense, and setting the tone for her team was exactly why people love watching her play. But instead of being remembered for that, the conversation became all about the refs, the ejection, and whether Unrivaled was already failing at its own mission. And the reaction? Instant. Fans in the arena booed loudly the moment the second technical was called. Social media exploded within minutes. Clips of the ejection started going viral, and people weren't just questioning the call, they were questioning the credibility of Unrivaled as a whole. Because let's be honest, when a new league is starting out, every single decision matters. The way they handle officiating, player freedom, and overall game flow will set the tone for how players and fans view them moving forward. And this was not the look they wanted. People were saying things like, if this is how Unrivaled is going to be, then what's the point? Why start a whole new league if you're just going to police emotions the same way the WNBA does? Angel Reese just got ejected for something that wouldn't even be a technical in a pickup game. That's insane. And honestly, they had a point. Because let's be real. This wasn't just about Angel Reese. Yes, she's a big personality. Yes, she plays with intensity. But that's exactly what Unrivaled is supposed to encourage. And if even she isn't allowed to show emotion without getting tossed, then who is? What happens the next time a player reacts to a bad call? What happens when someone celebrates too much after a big play? Where is the line? These are the questions everyone was asking. And while the fans were reacting, so were the players. Reese's teammates were visibly upset, arguing with the refs, shaking their heads in frustration. Even the opposing players seemed unsure about what just happened, because even if you're competing against someone, you don't want to see the game ruined by bad calls. Even Tiffany Hayes, who was on the other side of the interaction, didn't seem to be calling for Reese to be ejected. But once the second technical was given, there was no turning back, and that's where things got really messy. because not only did Unrivaled just eject one of their biggest stars, but now they had to deal with the fallout. Interviews after the game, every single one of them was about the ejection, not the game itself. Post-game press conferences, coaches and players were frustrated, confused, and questioning the league's decision. Social media, absolutely brutal, and you better believe Angel Reese had something to say about it. She didn't go off in a wild rant. She didn't lose her cool. But she made it very clear that she didn't agree with the call. She posted a tweet just minutes after the game saying, "Let the players play, period." Simple, direct, and impossible to argue against, because that's exactly what this was about. It wasn't just about one bad call. It wasn't just about Reese. It was about how much freedom these players are actually going to have in this league. And that's why this moment was bigger than just one game. Because now, Unrivaled was at a crossroads. Do they double down and say, hey, this is how we're going to officiate the game, even if it means alienating players and fans? Or do they acknowledge the mistake, let players show emotion, and actually embrace the identity they promised from the start? Because make no mistake, this isn't going away. The conversation is only getting louder. More players are speaking up. More fans are demanding answers. More people are starting to question if Unrivaled is really going to be what it claimed to be. And the worst part, the refs completely took the attention away from what was otherwise a great game, because before the ejection, the energy in that arena was electric. Reese was playing out of her mind, the crowd was engaged, the intensity was exactly what fans wanted to see, but the moment she got tossed, it sucked the life out of the game. It turned a great basketball moment into a controversy. And that's what makes this such a huge misstep, because the goal of Unrivaled should be to keep the focus on the players, the competition, and the excitement, not on the referees, not on technical fouls, not on questionable ejections, because now every game going forward is going to feel different. Players will hesitate before reacting. Fans will be watching refs more closely than the action, and the conversation won't be about the basketball, it'll be about whether the refs will ruin another game. That is not what Unrivaled needs right now. This league is still in its infancy, it's still building credibility, but moments like this, they matter. Because if fans and players lose faith this early, it'll be incredibly hard to get them back. And here's the thing, this could have all been avoided. If the refs just gave one tech and let her keep playing, no one would be talking about this today. If they just let the players handle their emotions and settle things on the court, we'd be discussing how dominant Reese was instead of why she was ejected. But now, they've created a bigger issue. Now Unrivaled has to respond, because silence won't cut it. Ignoring the backlash won't make it go away. They need to address the officiating, they need to clarify their stance on player expression, they need to reassure fans and players that this league is still what they promised it would be, because if they don't, well, this moment won't just be a bad call, it'll be the turning point where people started questioning the league's future. And for a brand new league that's still trying to build momentum, that is the last thing they want. So now, the ball is in Unrivaled's court. They have a chance to fix this, to learn from it, to make sure it doesn't happen again. But if they don't, if this becomes a trend, if more players start getting tossed for being themselves, then Unrivaled might find itself losing the very players and fans that made people excited about it in the first place. And at that point, it won't be about one ejection anymore. It'll be about whether this league can actually succeed. So now, the question is, was Angel Reese wrong? Or did the refs just ruin a great game? Let me know in the comments.